What's up, Andrea? Blessings to you. Blessings, blessings, blessings to you. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. I know I've been doing quite a few late night, early morning broadcasts. I had not expected, I will say this, I had not expected to do, hey, Mrs. Etna, God bless you for what you did earlier. How y'all doing? I pray that I'm not freezing. Um, I felt that pull to get on here. Today has been a day of just rest. In fact, it was a day where I didn't know how much rest or how busy I've been, but it was one of those days where I was so tired, where it's just like I didn't want to drive. I literally did not want to do anything. Our declaration on tonight is going to be God is faithful. That is going to be our declaration. I know we say, this declaration, we probably say this phrase every single day, but we never will get into a place where we don't need that reminder that God is faithful. Everyone has their own journeys. Everyone has things that, they have to endure, and there were processes. Some processes are much longer than others, some more strenuous than, others, right? But nevertheless, I believe that that phrase in itself is not a cliche saying, but it is a reminder that no matter where you are in life, no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the season, that God will do it for you. I had a moment today of just deja vu. In fact, I was just resting, and for the first time in probably a month, I just allowed myself to literally rest and watch TV, which I have not been doing at all. It's just been that type of season for me where I've just been so very, very busy. I probably will not be doing a house tour. I'm not sure, so I really can't give that answer. But right now, it's not even a thought to do a house tour. If I can just be real, it's not a thought. Um, it's not a thought. It's something that I want to be able to enjoy myself first, if that makes sense. I'm gonna say that again, and it's not me being selfish, but I know that I'm always so transparent. But it's one of those things, one of those blessings that is so very personal to me. Um, it's a special moment that to start off with. I just want to enjoy it. I do want to give God the glory. I absolutely do, and I will give Him the glory for it as He leads me to. But I had a moment, today of just deja vu. Blessings to you, Joy Speaks. I had a moment of deja vu where I was laying down watching TV, and I'm gonna be real. Has anybody ever like when a deer is like in the middle of a road, like right before a person hits a deer, like typically the lights like will just stun the deer, right? The lights will just stun the deer. That's where the phrase looking like a deer in headlights comes from. They just freeze up, and they just freeze up, and they just absolutely they just have this dazed look in their eyes. That was me today. And God had to literally tell me, don't do that. It was one of those moments like, Lord, I cannot believe, that is happening. And I had a deja vu moment of like how far I've come. Um, I gotta take my time with this. How far I've come from being homeless to having to live in not so good, not the best circumstances, to seeing God come through with the first apartment, then where I am now, and the third place being a home. You know, I know that there are so many of you guys struggling in your process dealing with uncertainties. Maybe you have questions about the how, questions about, when God is going to do it, questions, so many questions. But I had a moment, today where it was just like a deja vu moment. Capone, I thought that you were a lizard boy. I was about to go crazy. Um, and I said, Lord, this feels a lot like my wilderness. You know, it feels a lot like my wilderness. And he knew like what I meant was, when I took that leap of faith into the new season, there were so many uncertainties, but it was one of those things where God, I done made too many leaps to go back. Like I literally couldn't go back or retract on what you've asked me to do, even if I wanted to. You know, I just knew that the door to the old was officially shut. And even though, it felt like I was like in the in-between place, right outside of the promised land, something in me in that season knew I can't go back. November 13th, 2017. I've told this story before, but I really feel led to tell it again. Um, because God is a faithful God. And a lot of times people freak out about the timing of God. I don't care how patient you say that you are. Everyone has that one moment when you're waiting. You got a dire situation and you begin to stress out about the timing of God. You may throw temper tantrums. You know, you may just absolutely have a panic attack, go into a frenzy, because God's timing a lot of times doesn't look like ours, and he doesn't move how we would expect him to. Because it's like if God were to like ask for our input, which he ain't asking for nobody's input, by the way. But if he were to ask for like your input concerning like how you would want him to come through for you, the time frame that you wanted him to come through for you, like we would never struggle. We would never pick the struggle route. And because we would never pick the struggle, we would pick the easiest route. We would pick the route that makes us not have to wait, that makes us not have to exercise our faith. And hence, we would have a life that is void of true relationship with God. And so November 13th, 2017, I had come out of one of the roughest seasons of my life apart from being homeless. That season, in fact, reminded me a lot of when I was homeless, but to me, it was a little bit worse than when I was homeless. I'm just going to be totally transparent. But that was the day that I was supposed to move. I had taken so many leaps. God, okay, I had signed this paperwork for this apartment. I have signed the paperwork to put the lights over in my name. I've done this, I've done that. I've bought a bed frame, didn't have a mattress, but I had a bed frame. And I was literally waking up the morning of the day where I was officially physically about to move into my next season. But the only issue was that I didn't have the money. Anybody ever been there where you've taken so many leaps, you've done what God has asked you to do, you've sown, you fasted, you invested, like you've taken some leaps. And then, by the time you finish taking your leaps, a lot of times the uncertainties may lie, you know, um, in what you feel you don't have financially. So this was me. The day I woke up, and there's a reason why God has me telling this. Um, we'll get into it as I just flow. But I pray that this encourages those of you guys specifically that are believing God for living arrangements of your own, whether it is your first apartment, whether it is another house, whatever the case may be, whether it's business. I'm talking about living arrangements. But the principle of what God has me speaking on tonight can literally apply to every single area, like, of your life. So I woke up November 13th, 2017. Of course, Bella was sleeping with me. Sweetie wasn't finna jump in that bed. So it was just me and Bella. I woke up and I said, Bella, today's the day. And I'm gonna be real, I had certain expectations. Like on that day, I just knew I had an expectation of how God was gonna do the miracle. I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna wake up and money's just automatically in my account. Absolutely not. It was $5 in my account, $5 and some change, some pocket change in that PayPal account. And I knew that I needed probably about $1,400 to be able to get the U-Haul, to be able to move and everything else. Like that was literally what I needed. I was still uncertain about, how rent was going to get paid every month, but I trusted God. I trusted that, God, I've been through a lot in this season. So the fact that you're finally giving me a yes, you know, it means that you're not going to leave me. The fact that you absolutely shut the door on the old. And even though I'm still waiting, even though some things are just, they feel like they're hanging in the wind, I had a mindset that just knew that God was going to do it for me. Didn't matter what it looked like. It didn't matter how much money was in my bank account. Like, that's where that phrase comes from. Like, everything around me was saying, this time is different. On that day, everything around me was saying, you're not going to have to struggle the way that you struggled for the past 3.5 years. Everything, even though, like, when I woke up that morning, there was no physical evidence, but spiritually, the signs were all around me. And it was just a day where I was just so very aware of every single sign that God was giving me that the season shifted. This is why I always, God always has me tell you guys that even though you may not see the physical evidence of what you're believing God for, He is a God of many signs and wonders. He is a God of confirmation. And a lot of times, what will happen is we will see the spiritual evidence of a shifted season before we see the physical evidence of it. We will see the spiritual evidence that a great change is coming, that God is shifting us to a higher dimension in Him, that He's shifting us to the next level. We'll see that on a spiritual level before we see it on a physical level. And what's so sad is that, and I've been guilty of this too, a lot of times we focus only on the physical manifestation of what God said, that we miss the spiritual things that He shows us every single day. We miss it. We miss it. And we hold on to past failures where things did not physically materialize. And we totally rob ourselves of things that God does, that He confirms, to bring us to that place where we know without a shadow of a doubt that God is going to come through for us. And I feel that, like, even now, to like ask those of you guys that are here, and I want you to think very carefully about how you answer this question. I want you to answer it truthfully, not because it's the answer that you want to give, but I want you to like answer it as truthfully as you can. Do you know without a shadow of a doubt that God is going to come through for you? And I mean, like, when I say like without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, you have a mindset where you ain't even thinking worst case scenarios. You ain't thinking, what if I fail? What if I'm homeless? What if me and my kids don't have a roof over our head? You're not even thinking from the aspect of what could go wrong, because your mindset is so instilled. It's that Mark 11:24 principle where you just absolutely know, God, it's done. Like, it's done. And I'm gonna be real, this is not, and if you gotta like about it, that means that you're not yet at that place where you are sure without a shadow of a doubt that God is gonna do it for you. I believe that for many people, like, your circumstance points to the doubt that you have. Your circumstance points, to the fears that you still have. You see, in that season, that wilderness, I had already endured everything that I was gonna endure. I had already battled fear, insecurity. And it's like by the end of that season, I was so desperate to get out of that season. And I remember the day where I gave up, but I also remember the day where I said, God, I am going to give you one last chance. I'm going to give you one last chance. Like, I literally told God that. And so my mind frame became, God, if you gave me a yes, and like, I was literally like, I had given up. I just believed with every ounce of my being that God was going to do it for me. Right? Right? And so that day, I reminded myself of it as time ticked away, as it got closer to 3:30 p.m. I reminded myself every time, that I was waiting during the day, waiting to do another broadcast, waiting to share more of my testimony. While I'm waiting, I'm like, God, you have to do it. I wasn't allowing my mind any room to roam. Like, it was just something in me that just knew, God, you didn't let me do all of this. I didn't got a bed frame. I didn't got you've turned a no into a yes. You didn't let me do all this to disappoint me. And what I saw that day, it was what I had been asking God to do all along. I've been specifically praying for a miracle. I didn't know what kind of miracle I was praying for. I just knew that I wanted to see something. I wanted to see God do something that allowed me to see that He was real. I wanted that same experience that, you go to church, you see it on the internet about how God has done things for people, how He's, overruled court decisions, how He has blessed people, in such a way. I wanted an encounter. I wanted a real encounter. And so that day was one of the toughest days faith wise, but it was also the most rewarding day that I've ever seen in my life at that point. And on that day, I saw God do it. And I knew that, like, today, He was reminding me. This is why I say it was deja vu, because I said, Lord, this reminds me of like the wilderness, like when I came out of the wilderness. Because I'm like, Lord, I need X amount of dollars, right? I'm like, okay, God, funds have come in right now. I'm like $1,700 and $1,720 shy of what I need by Monday. I'm like, Lord, they have already changed the status online of this house from for sale to pending, which literally means that it is a done deal. And it's like for the first time today, my mindset shifted over into that place that said, God, you have to do this. It's one thing to say, God, you have to do this, but to do it because you don't want to heal from the fears and doubts, or you don't want to face the things that your circumstances are revealing about you. It's one thing to say that. It sounds good to say that. But a lot of times when people say, God, you have to do it, it's because what you're really doing is saying, God, I don't want to deal with this struggle. I would rather run away from this struggle. So I'm gonna keep telling you that you have to do it, because maybe if I tell you that you have to do it, maybe you'll follow what I'm saying, God, and maybe the struggle won't hurt so bad. Maybe you will lighten the load a little bit. Maybe it won't be as bad, right? Not understanding that the struggle is meant to heal you, the struggle is meant to grow you. The testing and the storms that you go through is simply there for you to build a true, authentic, and genuine connection and relationship with your Heavenly Father. But it's an entirely different thing when you make that confession, God, you got to do this. And you ain't making that confession because you running from anything. No, you're making that connection because you're looking around and you are aware of all of the spiritual manifestations that it's about to happen for you, that your season is shifting. It's one thing to say it because you running, but then it's an entirely different thing to say, God, I know that you got to do this because everything around me is pointing yes. And I think for me that again, what brought me to that point is because in that season, the wilderness, I had been hearing no's for so long. Anybody feel like you just been hearing no's for so long? The door had been shut for so long. It had been shut for so long that, like, by the time the first sign, the first sign was when God turned that no at the apartment complex into a whole yes. So I'm like, God, this is different because I've been getting no's for 3.5 years, straight up no's. And it was such a degree where sometimes it wasn't even no's. It's just God wouldn't even give me the money to even put in the application at some of these places. Am I making sense? It didn't matter, during those moments where the funds didn't come in to even put an application in, you know, it's like it didn't matter how much faith I thought I was using. God needed me to deal with what that season of my life was meant to do. He needed me to deal with the fears, the insecurities, which are rooted in fear. He needed me to deal with that before he could release, before he could give me what I asked him for, which was a miracle. And so tonight I had a moment when I said, Lord, I know what it looked like. But God, I've seen you do it before. I don't know how it's going to come. I told God, I said, I don't believe you're going to let me get to Monday and the realtor hits me up and gives me the information that I need for that cashier's check and it not happen, you know. And I don't know who just needed to hear this. This is just me being transparent, because sometimes transparency is best. Sometimes transparency is the absolute key. Am I making sense? Sometimes it is the absolute key to holding on, to growing your faith, and to see God and to getting to that point where you can see physical manifestation of whatever it is that you're believing God for. And so this has kind of been, where my mind has been. I said, Lord, this season of my life, with the house, it reminds me of my wilderness. I took a leap of faith not knowing what to expect. All I knew is that, God, I'm taking this leap of faith. You done gave me a yes when all I've been getting is no's. And that was all I needed. And so again, the question on tonight, it's like, do you really believe without a shadow of a doubt that God is going to do it for you? Or has you saying that been about you running from the struggle, running from fear? Do you really believe? And again, this is on so many different levels. It's not just about financially, but it's for whatever promise right now that you are standing for. Am I making sense? And so, I just really had to just get on here and share that. And again, I'm going to say this. It's real easy. God says I need to say this. It's very easy to get to a point where you say, yes, you do. But words don't mean anything if your actions don't show it. Don't make an idol of children. God needs me to tell you that. And I know that that's tough love. But sometimes you miss the point of the messages, Andrea, because all you can think about is kids. All you can think about is your baby. And I'm not saying that that's not a blessing, because that is a major blessing. But what God is saying is there's more to your life. And that cannot be your only focus. I know that has to be a primary focus for you right now. But what about the other areas that God is interested in dealing with you about? And I'm going to say this, and this is for everybody, and that may be hard for you to hear, but it's tough love and it's honesty. I'm not going to sugarcoat what God is telling me to say. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. So I pray that you know that was spoken out of a place of love, not out of malicious intent, not out of a judgmental, nature. It was just, don't make it an idol. Don't make it an idol. Don't make it an idol. You know? Do you really believe? And like when you get to the place where you like really believe that God is going to do it, you already believe like he has to do it, like he has to do it. The obsessive thoughts that you have about it, they stop. The obsessive what if it doesn't happen scenarios, what if I fail, what if, it goes south, those thoughts stop. Because when you're operating from a place of pure faith, things happen. You literally have no room to doubt. Like that day, November 13, 2017, that was one day where I can say it's like something in me knew I cannot doubt. I remember, doing broadcasts. I'm right outside of my mom's house. I'm doing the broadcast on Periscope. And I can remember there was a point, because she lives on a quiet street, right? Where I was in the middle of the street and I was just telling myself, you cannot doubt today. You cannot doubt that God is going to do it, because I knew that, God, if I start doubting you, I'm not going to see you do it. I remember telling myself that. And it's like faith at every single juncture, it kept me obedient, and it moved the hand of God just in the nick of time. But like I was telling myself that, like, no, I was checking myself. It wasn't that I was thinking about it. But sometimes when you're in the faith zone, the temptations to doubt, the temptations to like think about it, it's there. But I remember that day telling God, like, no, telling myself, you cannot doubt God today. So you got to believe. If you don't do nothing else, you got to believe. And so that entire day, I would tell God, God, you got to do this. I started thanking him that it was done. Listen, that's how my faith was really at another level. I'm thanking God. God, thank you that it's already done. Thank you. 12 o'clock comes, boom, I got the U-Haul. Now I really know that you about to do this thing, because you ain't let me get this U-Haul. You ain't let me go pick up this bed frame. You ain't let me pack up this entire U-Haul not to do it for me. So it's like the more God, even the smallest of things, it was at every single hour. There was something around me showing me. All signs were pointing to the miracle. And that's what I mean about being aware about everything, about every single thing that God is doing or presenting to you. Like, while you wait, pay attention to it. And a lot of times we neglect the things, the confirmations that the Lord sends, that he sends it to increase our faith. We ignore it because it's not what we expect. We expect God to confirm it a different type of way. We expect, it's crazy how we have all these expectations. But we get into a place where we just really expect God to confirm things, in a certain way. And then it's like, if he don't confirm it the way that we're asking him to confirm it, we be sitting up here like, God ain't said nothing about this situation. And the question that we really have to start asking ourselves is it really that God isn't sending you any confirmations, or has your level of expectation, has it gotten in the way? Am I making sense? Am I making sense? And so, this was something that was, again, it's been on my heart, because here I am again. And I try to live in the faith zone. Sometimes I have fears, just like you guys, that I got to get out of the way. I have the same temptations to doubt like everybody else. But this juncture today, it just hit me. I'm like, Lord, I'm back at that place where it's like, God, if you don't do it, it won't get done. I don't care who you got to use or how it comes. But it's like, Lord, if you don't do it, in fact, it got to a point where I'm like, God, you have to do it. I'm just more so shocked. Like, Lord, I actually have a house. Like, it's pending, which means can't nobody put no offer on that house. It's set in stone. It's really set in stone once I give them that money on Monday. It's set in stone. And so I don't know who this is for. Maybe you were wrestling a little bit with your situation, with your circumstance. One thing that I can tell y'all, and I'll sing this until my last day on earth, is that God is faithful. He's so faithful. Nights like this years ago, I would sit in my car. Sometimes I'd be at the reservoir. Sometimes just literally outside my mom's house, because it was so chaotic in that house. And I would just sit in the car. I would let the windows down, and I would just look up at the sky. Tonight I'm on my balcony looking up at the sky. Right? But one thing that God has shown me is that if you just trust him, he'll make a way. He'll make a way. He may not do it when that's another thing that the journey taught me. I can't put my expectation on when, God needs to do it, because honestly, if I would have had it my way, baby, I would have had that, and I would have had all the money I needed prior to. Can I just be real? I would have just had all. Listen, I would have had everything that I felt I needed prior to. Y'all hear me? I wouldn't. What struggle? It would have been. It's still gonna be smooth sailing. But I mean, it wouldn't have been no faith involved. I'm just being totally transparent. Would have been no faith absolutely involved, and so I've just learned God's timing is His timing. And the thing about it is, I said, Lord, if you come through on Monday, it'll be right on time. If you come through right after I talk to the realtor, it'll be right on time, right? I don't expect for God to do it tonight. I expect Him to do it, but I don't have an expectation on the when. It's just like, God, when it's time, you will make it happen. And that is Bible. When it's time, God will make it happen. I need somebody to type that in on the screen. And I need you to speak life into your circumstance, into your situation, whether it is living arrangements, whether it is financial, whether it is your health, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's relocation. When it is time, God will make it happen. When it's time, God will make it happen. Must say it again. When it's time, God will make it happen. Not you, not the landlord, not the people at the car lot, not the people that's hired. Come on, that's doing the interviews for the job. When it is time, God will do it. He'll do it. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's literally all we ever need to remember is that when it's time, God's gonna do it. And that became my mindset today. I said, Lord, you could do it on Monday, 5 minutes after the realtor, calls me and gives me the information that I need. You listen, God, you could do it. You could do it Monday. You could do it tonight. I would be grateful for whenever you do it, because whenever you do it, it's just the right timing. And so that's the broadcast tonight. Can I just get some of y'all to just encourage your neighbor and tell them that God is faithful? Can I just get you to encourage your neighbor and to tell them that God is faithful? Come on, He'll come through right in the nick of time. Every single time, right in the nick of time. Not too late, not too soon, but literally right in the nick of time. God is faithful. Joy speaks. He's faithful. Speak life. He's faithful. You will have a healthy pregnancy despite what the doctor said you have. You will have, come on, a place to call home for your entire family. You will. You will find the home, the townhome, apartment, whatever it is that God has for you. You will. This is about building your faith. You will hit that millionaire status. You will. We don't have time to doubt if we want a miracle. Hey, Pastor Ron. We don't have time to doubt if we want a miracle. We don't have time to play worst case scenarios if we expect God to move. And the thing about it is, if you play in worst case scenarios, you really don't expect God to move. You're preparing for Him not to do it for you. That's it. God is faithful. And again, I had not even planned to do another broadcast tonight. Y'all, I had not planned. I had just planned to chill, relax. It feels good outside. So I listen, all 3 dogs, they didn't came out here with me. I was trying to lock them out. The Lord told me something, let them all out. Just let them all out. Bella was coming, Capone coming, Sweetie came on out, and they chilling. I said, Lord, this time next year, we're going to be at our house. This time next month, we'll be in our new house. God, like, if you don't let them out, let them out. Let them come. This time. Come on. And so to those of you guys that feel led to sow, I believe that the next few days for me are going to be about transparency, and transparency from the aspect of God showing you guys what faith looks like, right? I show it to y'all every single day, but there's nothing like God allowing you guys to walk alongside and view the journey and actually view it in real time. Me walking out what faith looks like, what it means to have faith. I pray that, I don't do these broadcasts to gloat. I don't do them to beg, but I do it for the exact reason that I prayed for in 2014. I do it to show you guys, to teach you guys how to have more faith and how to exercise faith in your day-to-day life. Right now, I know last night I gave you guys an update of what's needed for Monday. I'm not sure what time Monday, so don't nobody ask me what time you need the funds. I don't know. I just know that, yeah, I just live out my faith, and so sometimes, in the past it would become hurtful when people would put all of these labels on me, call me out of my name, out of spite, belittle, slander my name, when all I've done was just live out my faith. That's it. And I'll never stop doing that. I'll never stop living out my faith, because faith is the lifeline that I need to have a real relationship with God. And so right now, the goal of what we need for Monday, we are at 1720. That's where we are. Funds have come in today, but from what I've calculated, $1,720. That is where we are. To those of you guys that feel led to sow, whether you're sowing seed into tonight's word, you can sow seed into tonight's word, labeling it God is faithful. There are some of you guys that God may just lead you to sow into the ministry goal, to just sow into where this money is going. And again, it's just going towards my home. For those that have not been keeping up, I stepped out on faith. God told me to. I applied for a home about a month ago, got pre-approved for exactly what I asked him for. Found a home yesterday, put an offer in on a brand new home, and they accepted my offer. And so on Monday, I have to give them $2,580 in total as my 1% down, and that goes towards my closing, but it lets them know that I'm serious about it. It's what they call earnest money. And so right now, that is the goal, 1720. If you know you're in a position to sow, this ministry has helped you, if it has encouraged you to get closer to God, to grow, that is where the money is going. I'm always transparent, about where the money is going, how it's being used. I ain't out here in Gucci, Louis Vuitton, although those places are nice. I'm not out there in Louis, or Gucci, or the Fendi store. The funds literally go to what I tell you guys they go for. Go to. Sometimes God has me sow them right back out. And I gotta say, God is so funny. Because I had deposited funds. God wants me to share this. My personal bank account was like $100 in the negative. Last night, the Lord said, call your mother and ask her if she can get your account out of the negative. This morning, she gave me the money, a little bit over what I needed to get it out of the negative. And I transferred what was in Cash App to my bank account, because I need to go to the bank to get the cashier's check, right? And I went to the store because I needed some soft dog food and deodorant. I'm gonna tell y'all how funny God is. My account is not closed. It was like I don't know what the representative said. She was said it was like pending cancellation or something, my card would not work. The lady literally told me, you can, you can use the fund. She said you can't use your debit card, not until like this clears that it's money in this account now. But however, like you can actually go inside of the bank and access this money. I said, Lord, okay, you trying to be funny, meaning I can't use this money until Monday. And so I couldn't even be mad. God gave me another strategy to get what I needed. But I said, Lord, I can't even be mad at that. You made sure that the money that I didn't even know it. All I know is that, God, I'm in Target trying to get this stuff and this card ain't going through. It ain't even let me add money to the Cash App. I kid y'all not. God was like, nope, no touching. You're not touching this. Nope. And so that's it. Before I get off of here, is there anyone that feels led to sow? If you don't feel led to sow, do not sow. But there are some of you guys where you absolutely know that God is calling you to sow on tonight. And so if you're able to sow, as funds come in, I'm not going to press this super hard. I don't feel like I need to press it, because if it's in your heart to sow, you will. Um, and that's it. Some people are not able to. Fine with that. But again, the funds are going to that. I don't have a goal for tonight. It's just you sow what you feel led to sow. I have not put any expectations. The old me would have said, "Well, God, I want to get under 1,700. I'm $21 away from getting under 1,700 of what I need." And so right now it's just I don't have any expectation. You literally sow whatever the Lord says. So there are two ways for you guys to sow. Stephanie has already put them up. You can sow via the Cash App using $Thoughts by T, or you can sow via paypal.me /Thoughts by T. To those of you guys that need prayer, you know, um, for those of you guys that need prayer for anything, and I want to say right now we're um $19 away from getting under that $1,700 mark. Whether you sow in 30, whether you're sowing 100, it's going towards the same place. But if you have testimonies or prayer requests, that is the email address for you guys to send it to. And so I love you guys, and I do feel like I need to say this. God wants me to say this. If you know you're in a position to help and this ministry has been a blessing to you, and you know that the fruit on my life shows that God's hand is on my life, and I really never even talk like this. I just really believe in letting people think what they gonna think. As long as God is pleased, I'm good. But there are some of you guys that need to hear that. If you know that the fruit on my life shows that God is with me, and you know that He's calling you to sow, please don't sit around and be a spectator and just sit and watch. And so I'm not gonna say anymore. That's just what He wanted me to put out. Like, please don't sit around being a spectator. If your first thought when God begins to talk about sowing becomes yourself, there's a real issue. And there's an issue, there's a real underlying issue. And it's probably the reason why your breakthrough has not come. Never, not once has God asked me to sow. Sometimes God don't even ask me to sow. I'm asking Him. When people come to me and say, that they have a need, I'm asking them, what do you need? And I go straight to God. God, can I sow? Can I sow? I never, not once think of myself. You know, I never, not once say, but God, what about me? If He say give my last, baby, I'm giving my last. Point blank, period. And so I say all that to say, don't sit around and be a spectator. What if God was a spectator to our lives, to our issues? What if He just sat and watched? And so that's it. I love y'all though. I'm rooting for you. If you know that you're able to sow, just obey God. So until next time, y'all. Peace.